Last up, we have a game that was another arcade game. It has been ported to like every system under the sun. And this may be one of the worst versions of it, if not the worst. And that's T2, the arcade game, on the flippin' Sega Game Gear. So if you're my age, you probably saw this game in the arcades. It was a classic Midway game where you had these submachine guns and you would aim at the screen and shoot. You could play with a friend. It was a lot of fun in the arcades. However, it was an ultra quarter muncher. This game, it was not designed to be fun. It was designed to get money from you. And so carrying on with that, to get more money, they decided to port it to basically everything. The plot, I think we've all seen Terminator 2. This takes place in the super far off distant future of the year 2029. So far away we could never imagine it. Where, Skynet and all of its robots and the AI have taken over the world, and you basically have to blast the hell out of them to save humanity. So instead of a light gun, you move the aiming reticle around the screen like a gallery shooter, and you have a machine gun and rockets basically assigned to your two Game Gear buttons, which are the only two buttons on the Game Gear. And the rockets have limited ammo, and the machine gun kind of overheats if you use it too much, so you kind of have to pulse with it to keep the temperature low, and that's really the strategy of the game. There are upgrades and ammo hidden in lockers around the stages, which you're going to need because this game is relentless. The enemies pop up out of nowhere. It's hard to avoid damage. You're constantly just hemorrhaging life nonstop. Like I said, this game is designed to get your quarters, not to be a good time. Or scratch that. It was designed to just be a good enough time to keep pumping money into the machine. But the game it's fine. The arcade was fine. This version's not great. However, I have to applaud the sheer audacity of the developers to actually bring this to the Game Gear. Turns out they brought it to the Game Boy as well, which I can't even imagine how bad that's going to be. Still, the game has a lot of flaws. The stages are way, way too long and ultra repetitive, and it gets really boring really quickly. They try to mix it up. You know, the first stage is just a battlefield where you're shooting things. And then in the second stage, you're in a warehouse where there are civilians. You have to try to not kill the civilians. And the third stage, John Connor is there, and you have to escort him while he's driving a truck and keep the truck from getting destroyed. So that they added some variants here and there. I wasn't able to make it all the way through the game or beat it. It's just too hard on the Game Gear, and the aiming is a little clunky, as you can imagine. I think there are 7 stages, and I made it to stage 5 a couple times. But by then I'd had my fill, so I was ready to move on. The game's okay. It's really brought down by its ruthlessness and its attempt to try to steal your quarters. I feel like they should have toned it down a little bit for the Game Gear or for the home console ports, which maybe they did. I'm not sure. I haven't played the arcade version in 20 years or something. But it makes it kind of an unfun experience on repeated playthroughs. If you're just going to play it once or twice for 5 or 10 minutes, you could have some fun with it. But if you really dive into it and try to learn this game and get good at it, it does not hold up, and it is not a fun time learning it, to say the least. So how is T2 the arcade game on the flippin' Game Gear? Not very good. I'd say it's a little bad. It's like a 4 out of 10. It's more frustrating and not fun than it is fun. Still, if you want to try it for 5 or 10 minutes, or you could pick this up for $1 or $2, go for it, but don't go out of your way to get this.